Starting off. Okay, again. So, hey everyone. So this is the Intentional Insights open part of the board meeting on May 7th, 2017. Introduction of what's been going on recently, followed by any questions from participants, because this is your chance to ask any questions that you might have about what's going on. And then we'll talk more specifically about the ProTruth Pledge, specifically what's going on there, and what the challenges are, what the needs are, and what kind of advice you can provide, also what kind of support anyone can provide. So we currently are about actually at maximum participation, which is awesome to see.
On the call?
Yes. So this tells me that we really need to do hurry up on the greater participation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point for Agnes. It's looking currently is maximum 10, but
don't we have only 7 people right now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think 2 just dropped out and 1 just dropped out. Let's see. Somebody just asked me about a YouTube link. All right, cool. So, what's going on with Intentional Insights recently is really focused, a lot of stuff focused on the ProTruth Pledge. So that has turned out to be a really something that seems to really fit the times, really fit people's needs and desires and concerns. And thank you, Agnes, for this. So it seems to really fit people's needs and desires and concerns because a lot of people are really frustrated about lies and deception in politics, and there's no clear way to differentiate liars from truth tellers, and the ProTruth Pledge essentially provides people with a way of differentiating liars from truth tellers, as well as providing incentives for truth telling and penalties for lying, which is really helpful for many people. And so it's been quite exciting. We've been, and this is something that's relevant again, not only for liberals, but conservatives. We've been collaborating with a number of liberal groups, more progressive groups, because those groups tend to be more excited about it. So there are a number of people, candidates who already signed the ProTruth Pledge. We have a number of people who signed it here in Ohio, and also Texas is a big one for us. So people who signed it there who are competing for various congressional or state senate races. So signed the ProTruth Pledge, a number of podcasters, radio hosts have signed it. And in general, we have been collaborating and started to collaborate with a number of progressive groups, such as Indivisible groups, the For Our Future Fund, and so on, which are providing us with venues to present about it and trainings, consulting. So this is actually something that a call who wants to participate in a training for tabling and in-person pitching meetings about the ProTruth Pledge. We have one scheduled. So the For Our Future Fund they have expertise in how-to tabling, and they will go through our ProTruth Pledge materials, get a training specifically for us, for our needs. First, at 6:30 Eastern, yes, Agnes will type it in there. At June 1st at 6:30 Eastern, that's 5:30 Central, and 3:30 Pacific. So June 1st, that's a Thursday, 6:30 Eastern. So put that on your calendar right now, and I will set up a event later, but in the meantime, just hold the date for June 1st at 6:30 Eastern. So that's been really exciting. We've been appearing on a whole bunch of podcasts to talk about the Pro-Truth Pledge, the Too Deep Too Fast podcast, Adam Ra, the Ramen podcast, the Scathing Atheist, and a whole bunch of others to talk about it. And we did a short blurb video about it. We've got social media going, so thanks in part to some of the people who are in this phone call. And so that's great. And we are organizing a central committee of people who are interested in helping coordinate and run the Pro-Truth Pledge. Some of the people on the central committee are here on this, which is really exciting. So a lot of really good stuff going on, a lot of exciting stuff going on. Our biggest area of challenge remains fundraising. So we are currently spending an average of $4,000 a month, and we are only getting $400, something like $400 or $50 a month in donations. So we are having to run occasional fundraising campaigns, which still don't bring in enough money. So people or dedicated supporters are currently loaning money to the nonprofit in order to make it run, which is really not sustainable. So that's our current really big challenge, fundraising and getting money. We are having clear impact. We're doing good work. People are super excited about what we're doing, is getting money. And how do we actually close excitement into money, because what we're doing is not typical. Yeah, somebody asked where's the link for contributions. Can you type in the link?
Yes, hold on.
Thanks. Thank you, Jazzy. Much appreciated. So that's our biggest kind of challenge, because again, very non-traditional. What we do doesn't fit traditional categories. We're applying for a number of grants, and we are not getting them, not because what we do is not good, but because it doesn't fit into traditional granting agencies of what traditional grants are about, you know. So and so to figure out, and so that's the challenge. And I will now open the floor to any questions that people have about any aspects of this. So there are a number of questions that came up, and people typed them on the chat, and we're responding to them on the chat. But right now, you can unmute your microphone and share your thoughts.
You know, I'll send you a link, but there's an organization, I told you about it once before, fightforthefuture.org, and they are asking for people to be full-time activists, and they're offering grants up to $15,000 for the first month, and then when they have a look to see what you did, if they like what you've done, the first month they'll give a lot more. It seems perfect for you.
Yeah, we applied for that.
Oh, you did?
So we still haven't heard anything from them.
If they called me back for a second round, I think we should work together because they're interested in me as an artist. I don't know and I think you're better organized in other ways. Mm-hmm. So maybe we should. They're asking for reapplication, so maybe we can do that together and have more power together than separate.
Sure. Please Facebook message me separately and we can chat about that.
Okay.
Great. But the problem with typical organizations like that is that organization and many others want to fund progressive causes, progressive activists.
They want what?
To fund progressive activism, so liberal-oriented activism. Whereas what we do, Republicans right now, currently, happen to lie more often than Democrats, so many liberals are interested in what we do. We are not, in essence, a partisan progressive organization. We are a nonprofit and a nonpartisan one. Now, there are certainly plenty of partisan nonprofits, so I'm not saying that in order to be a nonprofit, you have to be nonpartisan. But we are nonpartisan. And the pro-truth pledge is nonpartisan on the face of it. So while progressive groups are happy to work with us, there is that challenge of,
we don't always fit.
We don't. Not only do we not always. That's not what I'm trying to say. That we don't always fit. What I'm trying to say is that they are not necessarily willing to spend money to support us because they have more.
Because we are not dedicated liberals.
Right, because we're not dedicated to liberalism as a cause. So they would be more willing to support money, let's say, to support the Affordable Health Care Act and so on.
I think also that you might offend, sorry to say, you might offend sometimes progressives because in fact you will sometimes comment when progressives lie. And that's unpleasant.
Yeah, exactly. So we also definitely criticize people who are on the left for lying. We have articles criticizing people like Hillary Clinton for some of her lies. It doesn't mean that Hillary Clinton is, not overall good. That's not what we're trying to say. We are just.
Don't be your own enemy.
What did you say, Jane?
Don't be your own enemy saying why it won't work before it does work, because I hear what you're saying, and I think that your cause, like the cause of truth and facts, is in everybody's interest, and I can't believe somebody would say, oh, it's not left enough. But leave that to them to say it. Don't you even have the thought?
Oh, I hear you. I'm just telling you what I heard, what I already heard from people. So from people who I've tried to talk to them about getting money. I don't say it, that but once they see that we do criticize people who are on the left as well as people who are on the right, although again, many more people on the right are lying right now, and their lies overall are much more intense. But when we don't clearly say that we will not criticize people on the left, and when we do say we will criticize people on the left and have criticized people on the left, when people on the left lie, they are less willing to support us. So that's just what happens. This is what I'm getting at. Like, what we're doing is very unique and unusual. We're not fitting into usual typical categories, which is why we're having difficulties with this.
I have a question.
Who is speaking?
Nina?
Nina, go ahead.
So considering this a global project, how could we somehow extend this to or how many countries are involved in the funding? Because I know that I don't know that much about funding, but I would imagine that you would have to be an American citizen to apply for things and stuff like that. But are there some other like global organizations that could like facilitate this project so that it didn't all become sort of progressives or like partisan?
Sure. There are the variety of grants not dependent at all on. Some are dependent on you being in a certain country. So we're looking at all sorts of grants everywhere. We have people from 6 continents involved in this project in something like 30 countries. If people are most aware of granting opportunities, I am most aware of grant opportunities in the United States, but if other people are aware of grant opportunities elsewhere, I would welcome them participating. So if you are aware of granting opportunities in European countries where I know you're based, so Denmark, and if you're aware of anything there that can be helpful, you hear about that. So please do share. Yes. I'm looking at the things in the sidebar.
And a text.
In the text in the chat. So if anybody's not following the chat, you should be checking out the chat. So thinking ROI investment, Jonathan Ariello says that's TDTF. That's Jonathan Ariello. So So we are. So he says that the pro-truth pledge is should be a means of targeting the middle, and this is true. So we are using the pro-truth pledge to appeal to. It is a way of addressing moderates of both sides. You know, we can't get to the extreme right or the extreme left, but we can get to the moderates and get them agree. You know, right now we have, for example, a presentation set up at a club in Hilliard, Ohio, and the Rotary is an organization of business owners which leans right, which leans conservative. So they are happy to hear about the pro-truth pledge, and some of them will likely sign it. And that's a way of getting to people that liberals will typically not get to. But it's not as appealing to the large sources of funding. Large sources of funding tend to lean tribal. It's only when people have strong feelings about something, or mostly is the case when people have strong feelings about something. So you have money coming from the far left and money coming from the far right. Rarely do you have money coming from the middle. So, which is where we kind of appeal more to.
In the middle, they probably also have competition.
More competition in the middle.
Okay.
Not so interested in the middle, that are more oriented, that are not partisan.
Okay.
So we have more trouble getting funded. So Jazzy says the project's like, in fact, I'm not sure what this project is, so if you can follow up, that would be helpful.
Maybe a one.
Yeah. Oh, Tucker says that the local DNC head meets regularly with the local Rotary Club. Sure. So yes, if you can, Tucker, if you can set up at the local Rotary Club, that would be excellent. So Rotary Club is a well-known conservative-leaning conservative-leaning venue where people tend to, they tend to be wealthier business owners, and so tend to be something like the same demographic in the chambers of commerce. Tend to be conservative. All right. Other questions? Other comments? There's various fact-checking sites. Yes, various fact-checking sites are supported by the same organizations that support journalism, journalistic kind of integrity, and so on. And there are traditional sources of funding for that sort of stuff, but we try to appeal to those sources of funding. But they only support traditional journalism, including fact-checking. They don't support the changing how society and honesty. It's unfortunately not a good source of funding for us, even though really helpful. All right. Are there other questions about?
Hold on. Sorry, and address the links.
I'm here, bud.
On text.
I'm taking a meeting.
Just hold on a second.
Hold on a second. Okay, so they currently
We are at capacity.
if we so we are at capacity. Just tell them that we are at capacity.
Is there a way for them to participate by chat? Is there a way for them to listen in?
There should be a way for them to listen in. Tell them to go to the Google Hangout and see if they can participate by listening in, as opposed to joining the video call, like observe. Yeah. So we are at capacity, and so, which is great, and that's really awesome, and thank you all for being here. No more problems. Okay. Yes. So Andrew, yeah, this is not something we're not doing this as a public event.
Dr. Gleb Sapersky and the Pro-Truth Pledge.
Okay, I think this was Jonathan Ariela's. Okay, cool. Then it seems that there are no more questions. You said that the donate link. Yeah, I know, Jazzy. We are trying to.
There is a second donate link.
There is a second donate link, which was up there, and you can click on that. And I agree that it's inefficient. Currently, the website is not functioning properly, and we are working on moving to a different website, very unfortunately. So that's something that we are working on. And to Andrew's question about Google Hangouts being broadcast on YouTube, yes, those are public meetings, and we're this is a semi-public meeting, but it's something we can think about in the future, whether we want to talk about it, make it a public meeting. We as a board can talk about that. All right, so I think at this stage I want to move to the Pro-Truth Pledge and just chat a little bit about our current status there and our biggest challenge. So our biggest challenge with the Pro-Truth Pledge is as follows. We're having trouble finding, two things that we need and that we are having trouble with. One is reaching out to people who indicated that they want to help, or providing them with help, providing them with opportunities to help, let's say that way. So we have something like, we have close to 500 people signed up, and about 20% of them maybe said they want to help. So we have about maybe 100 people to whom it would be good to reach out to and talk to them about ways to help and get them on board. Challenge that we're facing. And we don't have enough people, like my time is not best used in that way. Other people's times who are doing the Pro-Truth Pledge, they're occupied with their own activities. And so this is something that's really challenging for us to move on. So that's one big challenge. A second big challenge is organizing. A second big challenge is organizing the central strategic apparatus, the central coordination committee for the Pro-Truth Pledge. So that's something that Bentley Davis, who's on this phone call, is leading and be able to answer questions. But that's the big. Thank you, Jonathan, for transcribing. So Jonathan is transcribing for people who can't get into the phone call. Okay. So that's great. So the second big challenge that we're facing is organizing the central strategic apparatus for the Pro-Truth Pledge to determine strategy and basically translate experience to another. So for example, right here in Columbus, we've had really good luck collaborating with a number of progressive organizations. Also, going to Rotary clubs, we got a number of people signed up to the Pro-Truth Pledge, including local officials. We've had some good people signed up, also good experience in Texas. So people in Texas have signed up to the Pro-Truth Pledge and so on through online campaigning, online activism, people like Bill Bellamy and others. So that has been going well. But we need to translate that and establish a strategic base of operations everywhere. We want this to be in all democratic countries, including outside of the United States, of course. Some of the people on this phone call are working on that. So we want to set up a network of people, and we want to set up a central apparatus. And the central apparatus is more important in many ways than the local network of people, because the central apparatus is what enables us to reach out to people who signed up to the Pro-Truth Pledge on the ground level. Hey, here are the 5 things you can do, and let me provide you support and check in on how you're doing and where you're getting stuck. So often it's the case that people don't know the next steps, and that's when they get stuck, and they need support, and they need coordination, and they need help. It's so important to set up a central apparatus, which will be doing things like reaching out to people and providing them with help. So these are the 2 areas where we're having a challenge, and this is areas where we would love to hear your advice, feedback, opportunities for input, volunteering, stuff like that. All right, I'll stop right now and open up the floor to questions and comments. Yes, Sri.
So you mentioned that there was, the first issue was that there was difficulties with reaching out to the people who are interested and organizing them into volunteers, donors, etc.
Yes.
Do we have people?
Yes.
These people somewhere?
Yes.
Do we have anybody? So the problem is that we just don't have anybody that is currently doing anything with this list of people.
People who are who have expressed some interest in doing things, but yeah, they don't have sufficient time to go through it in any sort of timely manner. There's like 100 people. There's over 100 people's names who are on the list, and you know, Bentley was on this phone call, is chairing the committee, but he's also doing a whole bunch of other stuff associated with setting up the website. So he's the main website manager, and there's so many other things to do. Set up the committee. So he doesn't, like, the amount of time available is very short. So we need people who would be reaching out to them.
Okay, so then my first question would then be, is there anybody else that is on this call that would be interested in going through the list of people and seeing where these people are interested in participating at? Yes.
Yeah, so your question is, anybody in the phone call, I welcome people volunteering if they want to do that. I also welcoming them asking questions about what that means, and who may not want to volunteer without asking questions and getting clarification.
Okay.
So yes, again, you know, this is questions about various things, comments, volunteer. If anybody wants to step up, all of these things are welcome. So this is your chance. Oh, go ahead to everyone there. Yes, Jazzy.
Yeah. I don't know why the voice comes back to me. Okay, however, doesn't matter. And when we are talking about truth, okay, I was long time bothered by, let's call it a slightly, maybe extreme or maybe purist attitude to it. I remember, I will give two examples, okay? Dan Ariely, and I discussed it with him at the time. He wrote a book about honesty and dishonesty, okay? And he wrote the idea that when people fill their tax returns, that if they are if they are reading the Ten Commandments beforehand, they are less likely to lie in their tax return, okay?
Yeah.
The thing is that bothered me about it, that there are many classes and degrees of lies, okay? And there is an inherent difference between stealing from your roommate and not paying your taxes. And I'm not making it as a philosophical argument, okay? I'm talking about the experiential and social effects. That there is a massive difference between not paying your taxes. This is obviously immoral, okay? And between stealing from your from the locker in the gym from your friend, that is in a way much more corruptive and destructive to society, okay? The argument that I'm trying to put down is that when we are fighting about truth, it might actually be more correct to limit ourselves to, let's say, to the real lives, okay? To put an example, if someone asks about my age,
Jesse, okay.
You got my idea. I think I explained myself.
Yes. So this is something that we have already chosen to discuss as part of the Pro-Truth Pledge, and we only limit ourselves to statements about the public sphere. So as part of the Pro-Truth Pledge.
And this is discussed in the ProTruthPledge.org in the FAQ.
In the FAQ, yeah. This is all discussed in the FAQ. So
it's very limited.
It's very limited. It's only limited to statements about the public sphere. we're not, you know, if someone is talking about, you know, things like, you know, oh, if I have a shirt and I ask Agnes right here, if the shirt makes me look fat, she's
No,
allowed.
honey.
She's allowed to say no, honey, even though it does make me look fat. So yes, you know, you're allowed to.
I don't
we have
agree. If she says no, honey, then you're going to go out in your fat shirt. I think she'd be doing you a favor by saying, honey, you should just wear that for a nightshirt and then burn it, like if you think you're going to wear it.
That's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I do, actually. That's why he's wearing this t-shirt right now.
Yes, yes.
But Pro-Truth Pledge has a certain purpose that's different from like maintaining a marriage and not having like a disastrous argument about spotted t-shirts. It is a very specific. It's not to like for couples counseling. It's not to keep friends from stealing from each other. We're trying to like fight. You know, we're going for a very big problem, which is politicians lying and being able to get away with their lies, and then trying to implement public policy that hurts people, and people cannot hold them accountable because politicians lied through their teeth. And
But if people don't realize that, you know,
already discussed this.
Okay, this has been discussed and decided, so we're not really going to rediscuss
And
it.
we did have that meeting earlier about the Pro-Truth Pledge, though. So there's a video, and like we discussed that separately. So
Yep.
we just only have about 5 or 10 minutes left on this call. With that as well.
Yes. So are there questions about the 2 points that I raised earlier? Not about clarifications about what the Pro-Truth Pledge does, but about the strategy of the Central Committee. Okay, so it doesn't seem that people have any questions about the strategy. This is kind of, again, we're focusing on what the project areas of the project. The open board meeting, the open part of the board meeting is meant for a report about what the organization is doing, and B, what our current kind of biggest challenges are in some of the projects that we're working on. Anybody who wants to help out with any of that. So I want to see if anybody here on the call is interested in helping out with either joining the Central Committee of the Pro-Truth Pledge and helping shape the strategy, or B, reaching out to people, not as part of the Central Committee, but just doing outreach. I know we have several people here who are already on the Central Committee and who are involved in this stuff, which is Alex Weissenfels, Andrew Barber, Bentley Davis, and Mark Kaufman. And Jonathan Ariola who is typing as TDTF pod, is already working on Twitter. So that's awesome, and that's really important. That's some of the back strategy. He already has that, and we have a number of other people who are working on other social media, so much appreciated. So, and Mark Kaufman, I know, has recently indicated that he wants to join the Central Committee. Interested in anything like that. Serena, just want to ask you a question. Since you talked about the outreach to people, is that something you might be willing to help with?
Yeah, so the way that I want to clarify, I envision the outreach to potential volunteers or donors working, etc., is that someone is responsible for directing, or first acquiring the areas of interest that the person is interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And then directing them to the relevant people within the organization. Like, for example, if they have something, if they're interested in informal coaching,
mm-hmm.
then the person that is reaching out to the volunteer would direct them to Alex Weissenfels.
Specific to the Pro-Truth Pledge, so this would be people, let's say, that are interested in doing advocacy going to public officials and so figuring out their areas of interest, which would be things like correct. So within that narrow area, not the broader area of intentional insights. With rest, I raise this up. You don't have to answer yes. You don't have to answer no. This is just a question.
If it needs to be done and there is no one else that is willing to do it, then attempt to do it, but it's not going to be like as successful as someone who really cares about and is insanely interested in seeing the Pro-Truth Pledge specifically work. I'm much more interested in yes,
You're already
rather
doing
than
a lot. You're already doing a lot.
Well, if you can do a little bit of work on the Pro-Truth Pledge to help get it going.
Yeah, I mean, I can take the first steps there.
Bentley, keep that in mind.
He needs my
Let me also kind of make a suggestion. We've talked about, meeting with all the advocates or the people who say they want to be an advocate individually and over the phone, which certainly gets people more connected. But I think when you talk about an advocate, a lot of people, when it's a check mark on a box, a lot of people think of it as more of a lighter touch volunteering. And we're getting everyone onto the advocates Facebook group. It might just be nice to start out with to start on their stuff that people can do to advocate. Like, have you contacted your local congressman? Have you contacted, and just put events out, and then people can do them as they feel they have time, and maybe start out with a lower touch version, and then as we have time to contact people, might be one way to go. I think for Intentional Insights, since it's a larger kind of organization, the volunteer touch is a little bit more important, but we might be able to get away with something a little lighter for Pro-Truth Pledge, at least in the beginning.
Oh, yes, I think you're absolutely right that we need to start with small things, but I think what I've observed is that for the large majority of people, unless you contact them individually, they will not be involved. And so there are lots of various modes of thinking that cause people to not be involved unless you talk to them individually. And that doesn't need to be a phone call. That could, in very many cases, just be an email message or a Facebook message, and saying, we have 100 people. Here are 10 people for you to reach out to. Send them an email message. Here's a template of an email message for you to send to them. Then offer them a meeting if they wish. Large majority of people will not want to meet. Tell them, here's the Facebook group that you can join. We need people. Inform them that there's a Facebook group to join and so on. And I think that all combines also with what Bentley said about the kind of things that we could be doing, like daily calls to action and so on. Our social media is intended to do that. So our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and as well as the Advocates Facebook group. Does that align with, does that make sense? Does that align with your feelings, Bentley?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's kind of like a 1-2 punch, sending them an email, because like you said, a lot of people won't actually take us up on having a person-to-person meeting. So yeah, just having an email template with someone who's willing, like you and I have with the Calendly, to where someone can get in touch with us if they want, but to give them some ideas on what they could do. So maybe building up that email template, and then maybe sometime soon we can get that to be even automatically sent out when people check that box, but that'll take some more work.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. So can you coordinate with people on the central committee to create the email template? I think I sent you some initial documents. the email.
Yeah, we have one written up for the area coordinators, so or the area organizers. So we should be able to, and in your email. So yeah, I think we have the content for that. We'll just put it together.
Excellent. That sounds great. And thank you, Jonathan Ariola, for transcribing it for other folks, and Tucker for contacting people in your local area. Very helpful.
Tucker has a suggestion for someone else to contact. Jeff Jarvis with buzzmachine.com.
Okay. Tucker, if you have connections with this person, it would be great if you reach out to him. So, that's cool. Okay, cool.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
I was just wondering how much because someone mentioned automatic emails and stuff like how much have you looked into automation of like standard procedures?
We're trying. That's what we're trying to set up with. So that's what I was talking about. The central committee, to have a central committee that organizes things, as opposed to doing things ad hoc, just kind of spontaneously.
I meant maybe also using like I'm sure that there's some computer programming stuff that could be done to like facilitate that emails would be like, for instance, send out automatically at some condition or something.
Yeah, we've been looking at several email automation tools, and they're expensive or time consuming. So we should be getting one set up soon.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, and we're looking at things like figuring out people's and coordinating them with various House and Senate districts and where the local politicians are. Okay, and Tucker, thank you for sending it to him. If you can find Jeff Jarvis's email, that could be another way of sending him contact information about the Pro-Truth Pledge and so on. All right. Are there any last questions before we wrap up? And board members, please stick around. All right. If not, then thank you all guests for participating in the open part of the board meeting. Really appreciate you being here, and thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. And we'll get this posted on YouTube at some point and send it out to everyone. And donation link. So
I need to copy paste from above.
okay. So
how about, since we're going to close this, I will share this on the Google group right now.
oh yes, the Facebook group.
The Facebook group.
Yes, so Facebook group, Agnes will send around the donation links. Thank you very much. Okay, great. Bye all.
Bye.